Okay, here's a video of how fakes like to play. This is how they started playing since around Christmas last season, and they've done it quite effectively at the end of last season. Okay, so they like to play a 4-2-3-1 formation. I have them in blue playing from left to right with the goalkeeper on the ball. Their centre half split the box. Their full backs are very notably on the halfway line, and also, as I said, they've two holding mids. They have a They have then their I guess they've got a left attacking mid, a right attacking mid, a right attacking mid, and they have a a centre attacking mid. Okay, so it's kind of like they almost play with three number 10s and then a striker as well. Okay, so I'll just run it on here quick and how they like to play out. They work it to the centre half, and they also look to straight away look for movement in midfield as the ball's travelling. They're always trying to create space, for the first pass into midfield. Okay, they start quite high and around the circle, and then they look to drop fairly deep and into the space that they've created. Okay, not only are they creating space for themselves, they're also creating space for this chap in here, which is notably. But what they're trying to do is look to get the right back on the ball. Okay, because he's providing the width. I'll just play it on here. So as you can see, just in this scenario, the the first holding mid who started over here has now come here to receive a pass, and he's created that space for himself to get on the ball. I'm just trying to delete this. Yeah. So he's created that space to get the ball and to get now the right back on the ball out wide. So I'll run it on here. The right back gets on the ball out wide, and then from that, then he looks to move forward, and they really work their. Whenever they're in positions like this, they try and get as many lads in the box as possible. One of the holding players will push on, and obviously their attacking players move on, and the fullback also goes on. They will normally hold one back and a three at the back. Okay, play on. In this scenario, I just let the ball go on, and this is where they get a cross in to the box and look to score from there. But they don't necessarily always look to get crosses in. They sometimes look to penetrate through the middle areas. As you can see, they crowd up those areas, so they do look to work the ball through central areas to get shots off as well, and they're to reasonable effect at least. Yeah, so the question is, how do we stop it? What we'll do is we'll get our striker to work as normal with the two centre halves. Our starting positions are key, especially when the ball is travelling. Making sure straight away that our wingers are backing their fullbacks. Now, normally I like my wingers to start reasonably high, but because their fullbacks are dangerous and they look to work through them, it's going to be a case where we're going to have to get our wingers to drop more deep than they're normally used to. Another problem, obviously, then we'll get our number 8 and our number 10 working on their holding mids. But instead of following them as they move, we'll look for them to pass on the player. So as one moves and the other moves, we just stay and we pass on the markers accordingly. All right. Yeah, and as well as that, we have to make sure, because they play with the basically it's like three number 10s. We have to make sure that our fullbacks are playing really narrow, and let our wingers deal with the wide players, and make sure that we're pretty much working within the width of the box, just to make sure that we're covering these two players here. Okay, so it's something that catches a lot of teams out, because they play so narrow and they don't play without wingers, out and out wingers as such, and it does catch teams out. So we just have to be aware of that. Next thing, as the ball's travelling, obviously we get our striker to do that job. And as that's happening as well, they'll look to move these two players to create space for one another. But as I said, we're going to pass them on, pass on the movement. But now the problem lies now when the centre half gets it in this kind of position. He can't work to the fullback, but he's got this one on and this one on. What we can do though is get one player to do both jobs, pressure and cover. So the covering position needs to be kind of something like that. So he's covering this player, in particular, but also he's in a position to get to this player as the ball travels. Alright? So that is very important. Now straight away, that is where a lot of teams get found out, is that a lot of teams don't know how to deal with covering the two players. And as I played for Fakes last year, that's where we got loads of joy. If it wasn't on if it wasn't on to go to the holding player, it was going to be on to go to the right attacking player, because they didn't know what to. Opposing teams didn't know to bring the left back up, whether to drop their number 10 in, which would leave this player with space. Teams didn't know what to do. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to make sure that we're going to kill two birds with one stone and make sure that we're cutting off both the pass into the danger man, and we'll be in a position to press the marking player as the ball travels. Okay. Obviously, covering positions other than that, we'll get our number 8 to tuck in as well. We'll get our holding player to tuck across a little bit maybe, but still in a position to see their man. Alright, and we're in good shape there. And the thing is about it now, if they've nowhere to go in particular, because they've only got 2 back and they're playing their full back so high, they're really, really exposed, okay? They're left very, very open at the back, and we'll look to exploit that. So just in this particular instance, we'll pretend that he's got nowhere to go. He can't go here because our number 10's covering that. He can't go here because our winger's covering that. And he can't really go there because our 10's going to get there with the pressure, alright? So we're going to take it for granted that he may hit this one long, okay? But if he hits it long as well, they're not in great shape. Let's say he tries to hit, I don't know, maybe he tries to hit that player there. Okay? From that, obviously our right back is in good shape, because he's working the width of the box and tucked in really tight, that he'll be able to press that, okay, because that's going to be his man. Let's say he wins it back. Now, this is where our striker needs to be clever. Because he's the furthest man up the pitch now, and because there's so much space there, we're going to look to play on the counter-attack. If he wins it back straight away, then what we can do is we can get him to work into a position. Well, if they lose it, they're probably going to tuck in. Okay, so we can probably look to work into a position where he's in a dangerous area. So if it's on this side of the park, if we win it back on this side of the park, he should be clever enough to step into space on one side, okay? Then we can get the ball forward to him as soon as we can. Off of that, then obviously we get our 10 into the box, taking the place of the striker, and we'll get our number 8 pushing on, and our winger pushing on as well, okay? So the idea really is to get, when we win the ball back, depending on what side of the field we get it in, our striker needs to be clever enough to make the movement to get into space out wide. Alright? Now the danger thing is he goes and does it too early. Okay? He needs to be clever enough not to go in too early, because if he goes in too early, the centre half's just going to follow him in. So he needs to wait till whenever we actually win it back and the ball is on to be played forward. Okay? So when the ball's on to be played forward, now he can drop into those spaces to receive the pass, and we'll get the lads up the park then as well. Okay. From that then, they're so open. They'll be so open in these areas. Obviously, there'll be lads trying to recover, but hopefully, it's going to be too late, and their downfall will be on their counter attack. We're playing the game away from home as well, so if we set up to play on the counter, it's going to suit us in that way as well. And yeah, that's it. That's our defensive strategy for Fakes going forward tomorrow.